You try it again, thinking it's a glitch. Then you see the supervisor walking toward you with a face people practice in a mirror, and you understand before he opens his mouth. Corporate is restructuring the fulfillment division. Your position has been impacted. Somebody upstairs spent an hour choosing a word that sounds softer than gone. 6 years, one cardboard box. Inside it, a coffee mug, a phone charger, a photo from a fishing trip, and a stapler you're pretty sure was never yours. That's what 6 years fits into. A security guard walks you to your car so you don't cause a scene. You haven't said a single word. He apologizes with his eyes and holds the door anyway. He's just doing his job. Everyone in that building is just doing their job. That's the trick of it. Nobody fired you, and yet you're fired. Severance, 2 weeks before taxes. $1,140. You sit in the parking lot and open your banking app. $743.12. Rent due in 9 days. $1,450. You do the math 3 times, hoping it comes out different. Math doesn't care how many times you ask. That night you type a post announcing you're open to new opportunities. You delete it. You type it again. You delete it again. Pride is expensive and you're already broke. You apply to 31 jobs in 4 days. 2 callbacks. Both no. One of the listings is your old job, reposted by your old company at $4 less an hour. You laugh out loud alone in your kitchen and the laugh comes out wrong. Unemployment says 3 to 6 weeks before the first check. Nobody warns you it takes that long until you're the one waiting. You call your mother on Sunday, like always. She asks how work is. Busy, you say. It's the first lie. It won't be the last. And every one of them will be to protect her. And none of them will feel like protection. You stop buying coffee. You sell the second TV for $60 to a man who haggles you down from $80 in your own living room. You sell a guitar you haven't touched in 2 years for $140, and it stings more than it should, because that guitar was never about money, and now everything is about money. The landlord's first text is polite. The second one contains the word process. You rent a storage unit, $89 a month, first month free, and load what fits. What doesn't fit goes to the curb. The couch you spent a month choosing. Books, a lamp. By morning, strangers have picked it clean. And there's something almost funny about how fast a city absorbs a life. You learn the arithmetic that will follow you forever. It takes one missed paycheck to start falling. It takes a lot more than one, stacked the other direction, to climb back out. You recline the driver's seat and tell yourself it's just for tonight. It is not just for tonight. Level 2, the back seat. You learn the geography of a city you thought you already knew. Which Walmart lots don't get a knock on the window. Which church kills its security light at midnight. Which streets get swept at dawn, and which ones nobody has looked at in years. The first knock comes at 2 a.m. anyway. A flashlight taps the glass 6 inches from your face, and your heart tries to exit through your throat. The officer takes you in. Clean clothes, sober eyes, a whole life folded neatly in a trunk, and something in his face shifts. Can't stay here, he says, softer than you expected. Lot on 5th, behind the hardware store. Nobody checks that one. Even the cops know the map. Everybody knows the map except the people who never needed it. There's a man in a Buick 2 spots over who's been out here 3 years. He teaches you the rules fast, once, the way you'd better catch them. Blanket folded and hidden by 6 a.m. because a car that looks lived in gets reported, and a car that looks empty doesn't. Windows cracked exactly 1 finger. Gas tank never under half, because the engine is your heater, and your heater is your life. Park facing the exit. Always facing the exit. You ask how he ended up here. Divorce, then a transmission, he says, like it's a complete sentence. Out here it is. Everyone's story is 2 nouns long. A diagnosis and a deductible, a layoff and a lease. The $10 a month gym becomes the most important building in your life. You shower at 6:40 every morning, shave, and walk out looking like a man with an address. One morning, a guy from your old office is on the treadmill. You stand in the locker room doorway for 4 full minutes until he leaves. You tell yourself you don't know why. You know exactly why. Car insurance is $110 a month, and you pay it before food, because the car stopped being a car. It's the roof. Your bank charges you $34 for having $6 less than you needed. 4 days later, it does it again. You sit with that math, $68 in fees for being $11 short. And you understand something no classroom ever taught you. The poorer you get, the more it costs to be poor. Your birthday lands on a Tuesday. You buy a gas station cupcake for $1.50, eat it on the hood, and allow yourself exactly 1 minute of self-pity, 60 seconds timed. Then you fold it up and put it away, because the Buick man told you the truth on night 1. Self-pity is the only thing out here that'll actually kill you. The library becomes your office. Free Wi-Fi, free heat, free bathroom, and a librarian who definitely knows and definitely says nothing. And you will love her for the rest of your life for that. It's her printer that spits out the flyer. Staffing agency, day labor, cash daily. You almost don't go. Pride again, the last luxury you own. You go anyway. Level 3, the day labor line. The line forms at 5:10 a.m. in the dark, and you're the 15th man in it. Nobody explains the rules here either. You watch. Regulars get picked first. The foreman with the clipboard doesn't learn names. He learns faces that show up. So you show up and show up until your face becomes a fact. Today it's unloading a shipping container. 8 hours, $11 an hour, minus a $5 transport fee. The agency skims for the privilege of a van ride with no seatbelts. $83 in your hand by 4 p.m. in bills so worn they feel like cloth. The work is honest and it is brutal. Drywall days turn your hands white. Demolition days turn them red. One afternoon, a nail goes through your boot and misses your foot by the width of a sock, and the whole crew laughs, including you, because out here, a near miss is a comedy and a hit is a catastrophe, and there is nothing in between. You put $60 of the $83 into a sock in the glove box, masking tape on the sock, a number and marker, $2,000. First month plus deposit on the cheapest studio in the city. You are building a door with a lock on it, one crumpled bill at a time. You master the food math. A $1 menu item is a full meal if you're patient about it. You walk anything under 3 miles. Every purchase runs through one filter now. Is this worth the sweat it cost? There's a man on the line who's been doing this 6 years. Strong as rope, funny, never bitter. And that's the scariest part, how comfortable this can get. One dark morning, he says, not unkindly, you'll stop counting the days eventually. You decide right there that you will never stop counting the days. Week 5, someone smashes your back window overnight and takes a duffel of clothes and the radio. They don't find the sock. You sit in the broken glass and laugh. Actually laugh, because a man with nothing just got robbed, and even that couldn't touch the number on the tape. Week 7, 17 work days out of 28. The sock says $1,180. Then the foreman, the one whose real company builds houses, pulls you aside after a concrete pour. He's watched you for 2 months. You don't complain, you don't vanish at lunch, you don't steal. The bar is lower than you'd like. You clear it anyway. Steady framing work, real paycheck, taxes taken out, $17.50 an hour. You almost laugh at him. $17.50 sounds like rich people money. Monday, he says, don't be late. You've been awake before 5 for 2 months straight. Late isn't a thing you are anymore. Level 4, the studio. The key is brass and it weighs nothing, and it's the heaviest thing you've ever held. $650 a month. One room. A radiator that clanks like it's arguing with someone. A window facing a brick wall. It's a palace. The first night you lock the door, then check it again. Then sleep on the floor in your sleeping bag, because the floor is still softer than a reclined driver's seat, and it doesn't move, and nobody will knock on it at 2 a.m. You stand in the shower until the hot water runs out, every night for a week, because you can. You keep your shoes by the bed. You keep the car keys on the nightstand where you can see them. An address doesn't erase the habits that kept you alive. Years from now, you will still park facing the exit. Your first real paycheck is $1,260 after taxes, and almost none of it is yours. Collections from the old apartment. A payday loan that was $180 going in and $310 coming out. You read the paperwork twice before you finally see it. The interest was never the price. It was the trap. Your first month of new life goes to paying for the last year of the old one. Nobody warns you about that part. The fall has a tail, and the tail follows you up. You furnish the whole room from a thrift store for $115. The chair is hideous. You love it violently. You set up an automatic transfer, $50 a week, the second the check lands, before you're awake enough to argue with yourself. The app lets you name the account. You type one word, never. You cook your first real meal in 14 months. Chicken, rice, a $7 pan. You eat it standing at the counter, and it's the best thing you've ever tasted, and it costs $3.40 a serving. And yes, you know the number. You know all the numbers now. That's the permanent souvenir. Weekends, the side jobs start. A coworker's fence, a neighbor's deck. The first client, a man with a boat in his driveway, knocks $50 off after the work is done, betting you won't argue. You need the money too much to walk, and you both know it. You take the short pay, drive home, and write a rule you'll never break again. Price agreed in writing, half up front, $50. Cheapest tuition you'll ever pay. You buy a real tool set, $400 on a payment plan, and your hand shakes a little on the signature, because the last time you owed anybody money, the debt nearly ate you alive. It feels like the biggest risk you've taken since the layoff. It's the smallest one compared to what's coming. Side work. $700 weekends become $900 weekends. Your phone buzzes with referrals while you're framing houses for a wage. And one lunch break, you finally do the math in the dust on a sheet of plywood. At $45 an hour billed, 25 hours a week on your own beats 40 on the foreman's. You quit. The foreman shakes your hand and says, "Took you longer than I thought." The crew thinks you've lost your mind. For about 6 weeks, your bank account agrees with the crew. You buy a used work truck for $6,500, financed, with a door that only opens from the outside and somebody else's name on the panel that you paint over. You file an LLC for $150 because a client's accountant corners you on a job site and explains, in words a carpenter can follow, exactly what happens to a man with no company and no insurance on the day a ladder slips. You start paying $55 a month for liability coverage you'd never heard of a year ago and now can't imagine breathing without. The first slow month nearly ends you. 11 days, 0 calls. The old panic comes back like it kept a key, checking the account 4 times a day. Food math in the grocery aisle, your eyes drifting to the reclined lever on the truck seat. So you sit alone in the cab one night and make a promise out loud, so it's real. 3 months of expenses in the bank, always, forever, no matter what. You will keep that rule through everything that comes. It's the most valuable sentence you ever say to yourself. Then a number you don't know calls at 9 p.m. Burst pipe, flooded bathroom, a homeowner in a panic. Every other contractor's phone going to voicemail. You answer. You're there in 20 minutes. Fixed by 1 a.m., charged fairly, cleaned up after yourself. She tells 11 neighbors. That's the entire marketing plan. Forever. Answer the phone, show up, don't lie. Apparently, that's rare enough to build a company on. You hire your first helper. He's brilliant for 2 weeks, then no-shows the morning of your biggest job, and you finish 14 hours alone with your phone propped on a paint can. The second hire, you check references, and you put him on real payroll, even though cash would be easier, because a man who got paid into a sock knows exactly who off the books really costs. Then comes the job that rewires your brain. A client hires you to renovate a sad little house she bought for $80,000. Your labor and materials, $22,000. You do it right. You always do it right now. That's the whole brand. The appraisal comes back at $160,000. You stand in the finished kitchen doing a different kind of math. She made $58,000 for signing papers and waiting. You made $9,000 for 6 weeks of your spine. You're not bitter. You're taking notes. Nights, you're back at the library. Same table, same librarian, different books. Auctions, liens, hard money, ARV. You start looking at every ugly house in the city the way a butcher looks at a cow. Level 6. The flip. The auction happens on the courthouse steps, which sounds dramatic and is actually 11 tired men holding coffee. You win a boarded-up 2-bedroom nobody else wants for $95,000. $14,000 of it the sock money's grown-up descendants. The rest a hard money loan at a rate that would make a payday lender blush. The difference is, this time you're the one holding the asset. The house fights you. Behind the drywall, mold. Under the mold, a rotted joist. Under the joist, somehow, a raccoon. Alive, with opinions. The budget says $28,000. The house says $37,000. And you close the gap the only way you can. With your own hands, nights and weekends. Doing the labor you used to sell. At 2 a.m., alone under work lights, covered in insulation, you catch your reflection in a black window and grin like an idiot. Nobody's timing you. Nobody's skimming a transport fee. Every hour you swing goes into a wall you own. 5 months later, open house. Strangers walk through rooms you rebuilt and murmur good bones to each other. And you keep a straight face because you know exactly which bones were rotted through in March. It sells for $168,000. After the loan, the agent, the closing costs, $34,000 profit. The most money you've ever held at once. And you barely feel it because 6 months ago that number would have been salvation. And now it's inventory, assigned to the next deal before it even clears. The bank calls you back same day now. You notice, quietly, that these are the same institutions that charged you $34 for being $11 short. Same buildings, same logo, different customer. The machine didn't change. Your position in it did. The next house, you don't sell. You rent it, $1,450 a month against a $780 mortgage. On the first of the month, you're eating eggs at a diner when the deposit notification buzzes. $1,450. You didn't swing a hammer for it. You didn't stand in a dark parking lot at 5 a.m. for it. Money working while you eat eggs. You put the phone face down and sit with that for a long moment. It's the strangest feeling of your life. It never fully stops being strange. A kid on your crew shows up late twice in 1 week, and you catch yourself about to fire him on the spot, clipboard voice and everything. Then you remember a man who once needed exactly one person to bet on his face in the dark. You give the kid a third chance and a ride schedule. He never misses again. You still don't know if that was mercy or a mood. You've stopped needing to know. At a bar one night, an investor who's heard your name asks the question that changes the scale of everything. What could you do with real money? You go from risking your own 10,000s to steering somebody else's 100,000s. The math is the same. The zeros aren't. Level 7. The portfolio. 14 rental units. A renovation company that fixes other people's mistakes for a fee. Roughly $3.2 million in property under your control. And for the first time, the slice that is actually legally after every mortgage yours crosses 7 figures. You read that line on a spreadsheet at your kitchen table and feel nothing at all. And then you feel something enormous, and then you make coffee because it's Tuesday and Unit 9 has a water heater problem. You barely swing a hammer anymore. One Saturday, you pick up a nail gun for old time's sake, and your elbow quits in under 3 hours. The body that built all of this can't keep up with the thing it built, so you hire younger backs and better knees, and you pay them properly and on time every single time, because you remember with forensic precision what a short paycheck feels like from the other side. That spring, you evict someone, 2 months behind, no plan to catch up, and a story so much like yours it's uncanny. The layoff, the tale of old debt, the just need a few weeks. You sit in your truck outside the unit for 20 minutes before knocking. There are kids' shoes lined up by the door, small ones. You look at them longer than you should. You do it anyway. You follow the law. You return a deposit you don't have to return. You give them 6 weeks longer than the paper requires. And you do it because the lease is the lease, and 8 other families in that building depend on the rent covering the mortgage. It costs you something you never say out loud. You notice you're getting very good at not saying things out loud. That's a cost too. It's not on any spreadsheet, and you pay it monthly. At investor dinners, people assume things about you. Old money, a finance degree, a father in real estate. For 2 years, you correct them. After that, you let the story stand because I used to fold down the seats of a Civic ends conversations that make you money. Conversation costs. Only once do you slip. A young waiter at one of those dinners has a look you recognize, counting hours in his head, doing tip math, wearing the good shirt that is actually the only shirt. You tip him $200 on a $90 check and say nothing. He chases you into the parking lot. Sure, it's a mistake. You tell him it isn't and drive off before it becomes a moment. You didn't do it for him, not entirely. Some debts can only be paid sideways. Then a larger group comes to the table. They want everything, every unit, the renovation arm, the brand, your systems. $6.4 million clean. You negotiate for 3 weeks and move them to $6.4 million, plus your 2 favorite trucks, which your lawyer finds hilarious and you find non-negotiable. More than you've earned in your entire working life, combined, doubled, in exchange for never taking a 2 a.m. water heater call again. You sign. Your hand is steady. It's the same signature that used to sign for $83 in worn bills. Level 8, the quiet money. The wire clears on a Thursday at 11:52 a.m. You're standing in a parking lot when the notification comes through. Of course you are. It's where every important moment of your life has happened. And you look around, and nothing is different. Same sky, same shopping carts. Somewhere between a badge blinking red and this exact second, you became worth more than the entire building that fired you. You take one afternoon to celebrate. You eat at a diner. You order eggs. Then the strangest chapter starts, the one where nothing is wrong. 2 years pass. Invested and left alone, the statement grows to $9.4 million. And somewhere in there, you stop checking it daily and start checking it quarterly, unimaginable to the man who once checked $743.12 4 times in one afternoon. An LLC owns another LLC that owns things you used to be able to touch. You have an accountant who has an accountant. People who work for companies you technically control have never heard your voice. The house is big and quiet, too big and you know it, and you bought it anyway because a man who slept in a driver's seat is owed some square footage. Even now, you sleep on one side of the bed, near the edge, facing the door. The old habits take their slow inventory of you. You still know the price of gas within a nickel. You still park facing the exit. You still can't throw away a sock with life left in it, and you will never once explain why. And some nights, you still drive. No destination, just the city at 1 a.m., out of a habit older than the money. On one of those nights, in a town where nobody knows you, you pass a Walmart lot. Far corner, past the light pole. A sedan. Windows fogged from the inside. A blanket against the back glass. Folded small, the way somebody taught them. The way somebody once taught you. You know exactly what that is. You know it in your body before your mind finishes the sentence. The light turns green. Someone behind you honks. You pull over just past the lot and sit with your hands on the wheel for a long time. You have more in one account than that entire life would cost to repair. You also know, better than any donor, any program, anyone alive who hasn't lived it, that nobody in that car wants a stranger's knock at 1 a.m., and that the ladder out was never one rung, never one night, never one savior. So you drive 2 blocks to a 24-hour diner, the kind with a bulletin board by the register. You buy every gift card they have, $340 worth, and pin them to the board under a note with 4 words on it, for whoever needs it. The kid at the register looks at you funny. You're gone before he can ask. It's nothing, a rounding error. It fixes 0% of the machine. You do it anyway, and you drive home, and you never tell a single person for the rest of your life, because somewhere tonight, 3 states away, in a fulfillment center that smells like cardboard and floor cleaner, a badge reader blinks red. She tries it twice, thinking it's a glitch. A supervisor is already walking toward her with a rehearsed sentence and a face that's practiced looking sorry. Tonight she'll do the math 3 times, hoping it comes out different. You know that math.